Welcome to the Unapologetic Man Podcast, the only podcast that's all about self-improvement, confidence, success, women, and being a man without making any apologies for it. What is up, gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the UMP. I really do appreciate it. And today we are going to talk about something that's a little bit uncomfortable. I am probably the only pickup artist coach that I've ever heard talk about this. I'm one of the few people who is willing to bring this up because you deserve to know the truth, and some of you guys aren't going to like what I have to say. So if you get butthurt easily, if you hyperextend that vagina in your pants and you don't like the hard truth, certain facts about emotional ability to be in a relationship, why 44% of women just will not be good for you. And I dare say probably about 44% of guys listening to this podcast are in this same mentality. Click away, man. You don't want to hear this. You're not ready for it. Maybe in the future you can come back to this episode, but this is for guys who are really willing to hear the truth about what I call emotional capability to love, emotional capability to be in a relationship, in a healthy relationship, without stabbing you in the back, flipping out, being selfish, trying to upgrade to a better guy. And this is how I screen for women who don't meet my criteria. And I'm going to give you guys some hints about what to look for when it comes to women. Before I jump into the content, I want to thank you guys yet again for all the spectacular reviews. If you find value in this podcast and you want to reciprocate some of the kindness that I've shown you with over 326 episodes of hard-hitting content, such as today's episode, I'd very much appreciate that review, preferably a 5-star review. I mean, come on now, obviously, and preferably with some writing behind it. If you do that, email me at CoachMarkSing@gmail.com and or send me a message through my website, and I will send you a bunch of cool shit. The Conversation Sniper, Guide to the Female Orgasm, and 3 texts to build massive attraction in women. All right, let's jump into the content. So we have to understand right off the bat that 44% of people in society are not emotionally capable of loving you in a healthy way. This means that due to dysfunctions from their past, due to a certain level of immaturity, due to still being stuck in the egoic selfishness that all of us have to go through at one point in our lives, they are not emotionally capable for you to be with them. And I dare say 44% of guys listening right now, probably less because you guys are fucking champions, and a lot of you guys who listen to this podcast are givers rather than takers, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But for the sake of example, let's just say 44% of guys listening, and definitely 44% of men out there in society are not capable of having a quote unquote healthy relationship. A relationship that's supportive, that's loving, that's positive, that has almost zero passive aggressive energy behind it, isn't in the relationship off the basis of what's in it for me, but instead is in a giver mentality and gives from love and tries to think about what's in it for the other person. Now, a lot of times in this podcast, I talk about how you're not to be fucked with, how I want you to screen women, how if she's giving you any shit, you pull away immediately. And there's many reasons for that, but one of them is if a woman telegraphs propensities, attitudes, behaviors that show me she's not emotionally capable of being in a loving relationship, I'm going to nix her immediately. Because I found through my experience and also this study that I recently came across that confirmed this, that there just is a big percentage of women who aren't there yet to be able to have a healthy relationship with you. So why would you mess with them? Well, you and I both know why you'd mess with them. And I dare say I've done this myself many, many times because they're hot. Right? They look super good. They can suck the shine off a Cadillac and you just want to give it a go for a couple of months because she's so damn hot. I've been there so many times. Listen to my episode about stalkers and freakouts. All those chicks were an example of being emotionally incapable of being in a healthy relationship. And the guy that I spoke about, as well as many other guys in society, too fall into that category of being emotionally incapable. So the reason why I cycled through so many girls before I settled down with my current girlfriend is because I understood this intrinsically, that certain girls just aren't going to make the cut. Not only because they don't have the same attitudes as me, they don't conversate well with me, we just aren't compatible, but also because they're emotionally incapable of being in a healthy relationship. So me being with them is just going to be a vexing negative experience. And as a lot of you guys listening right now, you're nodding your head because you too have been with women who simply weren't emotionally capable of being in a healthy relationship. They were passive aggressive. They were always trying to take the frame from you. They were trying to control you. They were super negative. They were fill in the blank. And the reason that is because from dysfunction from childhood. Growing up in today's society, you guys know just as well as I do, there is a lot of dysfunction in families. If you look at your extended family, if you look at your friends' families, you will see immediately so much dysfunction. Now, this is just the human condition. In my personal belief, consciousness is an evolution. And right now, we are in a pretty elementary stage of the evolution of our consciousness. So we're acting from ego. Ego wants to take, it wants to beat others. It only thinks about what's in it for itself. So when you have somebody who's stuck in this egoic consciousness, they are going to take from you. They are going to stab you in the back. They are going to look for the next best thing. And your feelings, your emotions, your soul doesn't matter to them in the least. Okay, now this is 44% of people. And unfortunately, to kind of add on to the bad news, and I'll get to the good news in a minute, but unfortunately, to add on to this bad news, usually it's people in their 20s because 20s are a time when you're still stuck in your ego and you haven't quite learned the lesson yet that in order to get what you want, you have to give first. In order to receive love, you have to give love. In order to get a smile, you have to give a smile. In order to get money, you have to give money. Now, I would never expect a person in their 20s to have already learned this lesson, and particularly females and males too, who came from dysfunctional families, they're almost always not going to have that consciousness. They're going to have the consciousness of take, what's in it for me? If I act selfishly, I'm going to get what I want. But you guys, just as I, have experienced more times than you can count the universal truth of karma, which I completely believe in. No one would ever be able to convince me otherwise. And if you don't like the word karma, then say what comes around goes around. What you put out there comes back to you. So these people are in this state of consciousness, taking, stabbing other people in the back, talking shit, gossiping, trying to steal from others, get for themselves. And what happens? Their life fucking sucks. Then you meet this chick who's in her 20s, her sexual prime. She's super banging. She puts her best foot forward when you first meet her. So you're like, yeah, I'm going to date this girl and make her my girlfriend. Then by the time you know it, you guys are getting married and then the real her comes out. And this happens with guys too. If you're a female listening, don't get it twisted. Dudes do this too, where a female will be dating a dude. He puts his best foot forward because he wants to get laid. He wants to be with you because you're hot. Next thing you know, you marry the dude and then he turns into a controlling psychopath who potentially verbally and or physically abuses you. These are people who are emotionally incapable. And yes, it's 44% of people because our society is, like I said, still in that egoic consciousness. So we're in the consciousness of fuck everybody else. What's in it for me? Fuck the world. I'm going to get mine and nobody's going to stop me. But you learn from experience that that doesn't work. And I immediately tried to identify this in women when I first date them because I don't want to fuck with them. I've had so many bad experiences. Once again, if you listen to that episode about stalkers and freakouts, pretty funny episode, by the way, about that girl who did an over-the-head soccer throw of a brick into my passenger side window on my 4Runner, you'll know all about it. All the women I talk about in there were emotionally incapable. And yes, even I'll admit, through my 20s and even into my 30s, I was emotionally incapable. But I didn't come from a dysfunctional background, not so much. I had some things happen, but not as bad as most people. So I was able to transcend it and grow through it very quickly with wisdom. With age comes wisdom. And if you're listening, okay, and this is the part that's going to be a little bit hard of a pill to swallow. If you're listening, I want you to ask yourself, am I a giver or am I a taker? And one of the biggest things I see as a coach who gives freely of all this awesome information on this podcast, who's extremely gracious in the way that I'll meet with people on a breakthrough session, what I see time and time again is people hitting me up who just want more. They want me to send them free shit. They're asking for advice. There's no like, hey, Mark, you're doing a great job, buddy. Let me give you something first. No. It's take. And these are the guys who unfortunately need the most help. And they're the ones who need to hear this episode. Where am I just a taker? Am I just looking out for myself and only asking what's in it for me? How many of you guys actually ask what's in it for the other person? How many of you guys give freely without any expectation of anything in return? I'll tell you, it's about 56% of you guys, and I dare say probably a lot of you listening. And those are the guys whose lives turn out to be almost like dreams come true. Ever since I switched from a taking mentality into a giver mentality, making myself emotionally capable to be there for my woman, to be there for my friends, to be there for my clients, and give unselfishly, it was only then that my life exploded into ways that I could never have dreamed of. And it became the life that I always wanted, even back when I was in my 20s and I was just a fucking taker. And believe me, guys, I was the biggest taker of all. So if you're listening to this and this is the episode that really makes you wake up and you're like, God damn, he's right, I'm a taker. I was a taker too, so don't get all butthurt about it. Don't get mad at yourself. Don't get mad at me. I'm just the messenger here. But realize that you are a taker and ask yourself, am I emotionally capable to be with a woman in a healthy way, or am I just trying to take her sex? When I see a woman, do I just objectify her, see her as a piece of meat and just want to get my dick into her butt? Or am I actually thinking like, hey, I hope I relate to this girl. What can I give her? Can I go up and give her a nice compliment? Go up, give her good energy. Go up, give her a good experience. See, the way I think about it, boys, and this is why I don't have approach anxiety, is by me approaching her and giving her my good energy, my loving, pure spirit, she is actually getting a gift and I am making her life better. Therefore, I'm not taking anything from her. I'm giving her. And if she gets attracted to me, then I'll take her number and I'll take her out. But again, it's going to be a great experience for her. And yeah, it's going to be a great experience for me too. But immediately on that first date, I'm listening very closely to her language, to the kinds of things she talks about. I'll even ask her certain questions, which I'll get into in a second, that identifies if she's in this unhealthy kind of mentality of being a taker, emotionally incapable of having a loving relationship. Or is she a giver? Has she ascended past that egoic need of selfishness and grew into a loving human being who understands the universal law of cause and effect? The more I give, the more I get back in return. Some of the things I'll ask her is I'll ask her about her dad. I'll ask her about her mom. I'll ask her about her best friend. I'll ask her what irritates her about certain people. I'll ask her sometimes even about her ex-boyfriend and how that ended. And immediately, boys, you're going to get really good at this. You're going to identify very quickly if this woman is emotionally capable. But first, you have to ask yourself, and here comes the giver-taker thing. Are you emotionally capable? Because it doesn't matter if she's emotionally capable until you are. You have to fix the mechanism first. What's the common denominator on all your dates with women? It's you. So work on yourself first and first ask yourself. And some of you guys, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow. I mean, I could go through my email right now and identify at least a couple hundred dudes who are just straight up takers. Hey, Mark, send me this. Hey, Mark, give me this. Hey, Mark, answer this question for me. Hey, Mark, when are you available? Call me so we can talk. Hey, Mark, let me pick your brain for a little while. What are you going to give? And guys, I get messages all the time from other podcast hosts who are like, let me come on your show. Or advertisers, hey, let me advertise. Let me sell my book on your show. I'm like, fuck you, you're a taker. To get anything in life, you have to give it first. If I'm going to try to be on somebody else's show, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to invite them onto my show first. Show them how much value they can get by being exposed to the champion listener base, just like you, brother, who listens to this episode. And then I'll say, hey, bro, like now that you've come onto mine, could I come onto yours? That's the way you do it. You give first. So my inbox is just inundated every day with these dudes, and you're the guys who I want to talk to. Give first. And then I'll also get emails, and I salute you guys who wrote this. Hey, Mark, I gave you a review. Really love your content. Would you be so kind as to send me that conversation sniper and anything else you think would deem beneficial to my progress? And I'll be like, hell yeah, bro. Here's like 6 different things that you can go through. Thank you so much for being a listener. I appreciate you. And all you guys who have hooked me up with the review, smack yourself on the ass so hard when the concussion hits, your balls fly up and hit the brim of your hat, because you are a giver, and I really appreciate you. And no, guys, I'm not trying to use some reverse psychology on you. I'm trying to get you to look in the mirror because I honestly care about you. I'm trying to give you what so few other pickup artist coaches give, which is the fucking truth. And it's hard to swallow sometimes. Are you a giver or a taker? If you're a taker, you can change that today. Today, you can change it. Simply with this episode, waking you up to the truth that when you're a taker, you only get taken from you. Taker is the consistent word that is the paradigm in your reality. You take, you get taken from you. But when you give, boys, you are given 200-fold in return. So as you date women and you see these dysfunctions, for example, you're on a first date and all she's doing is complaining, and you write me an email and you say, Mark, how do I deal with these girls who are only complaining? Do you know how you deal with them? You fucking nix them and you say, next, please. And this, boys, is why I have my guys talking to 10 to 20 girls consistently over the 3 months and beyond that they're with me in my coaching program. I want a minimum of 10 conversations going, preferably 20. I want tons of girls coming into your pipeline because, dude, we are cutthroat. If they don't make the cut, they are done. Now, certainly, and I get it, and I've done this many times myself, you might want to dip in a couple times because she's so damn hot. I get it. But you're not making her any promises. You're giving her a fantastic experience. I have had women thank me, and my clients have had women thank them for giving them the best, most erotic seduction that these girls have ever experienced. I've literally pulled girls home from nightclubs when I used to do one-night stands. And afterwards, they'd be like, thank you. That was like a fantasy, and you did it perfect. It was a perfect execution. Most women want to be seduced in the right way, not tricking them, not manipulating them, but taking them through this experience that they've been dreaming about since they were a little teenage girl. They want that to happen. So if you do want to dip into some girls who aren't emotionally capable of being in a relationship, in my opinion, as long as you're not making them any promises, as long as you're not manipulating them and doing something to them that will essentially make their lives worse, I think it's perfectly fine, as long as you're not making promises. So go ahead and date lots of girls, but be mindful. 44% of them simply aren't going to make the cut. And some of you dudes are listening, you've married a girl like this. And you're like, what the fuck was I thinking? Well, the feeling of lust is pretty intoxicating, and we make many bad decisions based on our emotions. This is why I suggest if you ever date a woman and you're thinking about getting married, I would date her for 5 or more years before I'd ever marry a girl. And frankly, that's what I'm doing with Marissa. She's still in the screening process. We're still seeing how it goes. You know, she's asking to marry me and all that stuff. And I'm like, slow it down a little bit. I still have some research to do. Let's everybody be patient. Everybody relax. But when it comes to her, she's totally emotionally capable. I mean, this is the most loving woman I've ever been with, and that's why I'm with her. And I'm emotionally capable too. I always think about her first. Like, what can I give to this girl? And that's why it works. We are in a collaborative relationship. There's never any passive-aggressive comments. There's never jokes at each other's expenses in front of family members. There's never me against you, let me get one over on you, or anything negative in our relationship. And you have to actively work on that to make that a reality in your relationship. But it starts with you. So ask yourself, am I a giver or a taker? And if you're a taker, and I admire you for admitting it to yourself, start giving. And it's as easy and quick as a simple decision. You just decide right now, from now on, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be a giver. At first, you may think, oh, what's in it for me? I hate this. And that's okay. It's natural to be somewhat selfish, but I guarantee you it's going to come back to you 200-fold. And then when you're out meeting women, always give first. Give good energy. Be a go-giver. Go give her good energy, good conversation, maybe even a nice compliment initially to get the conversation going, and give her an experience that's going to make her better from having met you. When you do that, you're going to be given experiences that in turn make you better from having met these people. There are so many amazing people in this world, guys. If you're not meeting amazing people, what's the attraction point? It's you. When you become a giver, you attract givers. There's so many great people, just people with hearts of gold, people who are generally good fucking dudes. And honestly, I think I'm one of those dudes, and that's why this podcast is growing so quickly. But if you want to be in with somebody like me, the last thing you want to do is try to take from them, especially when they're giving so freely. So you give to them first. And even if that's a compliment, even if that's a review, even if that's a, hey, Mark, you changed my life, that's how you get in with me, and you will be amazed at what I give you back. But when I get takers hitting me up, which happens all the time, I still give them the programs they ask for. I still let my assistant give them advice when they're asking for free advice. You know, I'm still a giver, but in my mind, I'm like, this dude hasn't quite figured it out yet. So as you continue to date women, remember, boys, from quantity comes quality. You got to get lots of chicks into your pipeline. And in my 3-month coaching program, I give you 3 different super potent ways to do it. And we understand that from quantity comes quality, where you're meeting lots of girls, you're siphoning through them, you're screening them, you're vetting them to make sure they make the cut. And if they do, then you continue dating them, and you do so in a way where you're giving to them, but at the same time, you're not going to be taken from by these girls who are takers. And I'd say the same thing to women. If I was ever the dating coach of women, I'd say, man, you guys screen these dudes, because there's 44% of dudes out there are takers. They just want to take your sex. So you need to screen them in the following way, and that's what I teach. But right now, I'm the coach of the red and black team, the unapologetic man army, and I'm telling you boys, screen these chicks, because 44% of them simply won't make the cut. So nix them. Don't even waste your time. And if you want to dip in, that's fine. Don't make them any promises. And give as you're doing it, giving them an orgasm that they'll remember for the rest of their lives. That'll make them scream so hard, it'll shatter your windows when the concussion hits. That's what the hell I'm talking about. All right, gentlemen, for those of you who listened to the end, I really respect you. You were able to swallow that tough pill, and you're going to be better for it. You're the kind of guy who's a giver. You're the kind of guy who's a champion. You're the kind of guy who's going to make it in this life. And yes, when you give, literally, brother, all your dreams can come true. All of them. When you are a giver. Appreciate you guys listening. Make sure to stay tuned for the next one, and I will see you in the next episode.